Everything I need is found in you. All in you. Everything I need is found in you. Found in you, Jesus.
Good day. Good day. Thank you so much for logging in and watching us at watch the podcast. The legacy continues. I'm excited about today, and I know I say that every time because I love sharing about Mom's legacy, and I love sharing how God moves in our lives, and just a little history, and I say this every time, and I'm sure that eventually I'll quit saying it. But the reason that we started this podcast was last year. Mom started a podcast, Real Talk with Miss Brenda, and then when she passed in December, just knowing. To me, just everything that she had started and that it was so important for her legacy to continue. I did not want anything to end that she had started. So we started just talking to people who were part of her legacy, people who family and people. It's gonna go to where we're going to share with graduates and teachers and instructors and people throughout Mom's life who wanted to who are making an impact, to people who are now living a fuller life because of who Mom was in their life. And so we believe that it's important that her legacy continues, that we acknowledge, that we see that it's not just about Mom's legacy, but it's about our legacy and about what we're investing every day, and how we are that every day that we are leaving something worth leaving for real. Is it so anyway, I'm excited today. I have two beautiful people who I call family. I get to call family. I've got my little sister Miranda. Hey, so good to have you on the show today. She's a little nervous, just a little. And then we have Natasha, my sister-in-law. So good to have her.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. She's nervous too. But now you were on the podcast with Mom.
Yes.
Once or twice?
Twice.
So, you're a pro.
I wouldn't go that far.
You wouldn't go that far?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, what was it like getting on the podcast with Mom?
We had a good time.
Okay.
We had a great time. But I think because we had conversations every day, it made it easier.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And off-the-wall conversations every day, so you never knew what was coming.
So you say Mom wasn't a preparer?
Never.
Don't talk about my mama like that. She wasn't, though.
No,
she wasn't.
Sometimes I wish she was.
No. And then, Miranda, you never got the chance to be on the podcast with Mom.
Never.
So this is something new.
New, yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you for coming on with me, but we can't talk about Mom's legacy without having her baby on here.
I know.
Okay. So anyway, I'm excited. Super. So again, it's important to me that we that as we reflect on Mom's life and the legacy that she lived, that the mission is definitely very important, because that's the big part of the legacy that she left, and then her strong personality and these attributes that she had that can be contagious. That these attributes that I want, as we reflect on Mom, one, we want to be honoring to her, definitely honoring to the Lord and everything that we do. And I know that Mom was so driven to honor the Lord. That was, she joked that she had to repent throughout every day, but she wanted to honor the Lord in all her actions. So, question, and I'll, since Natasha, since you've been on the podcast before, and when it comes, do you believe that it was important to Mom to leave a strong legacy?
Absolutely.
Why do you say that?
Because every day she wanted to make sure that everything was set in place to become bigger and better. And she would reminisce about how it all began, but she loved where it was going, and she wanted it to never end. And she wanted every person in her family to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. And it was almost like she got every person there right before. And that made her feel good. And she loved that. She wanted us to carry that on forever. She would talk about it on a regular basis. Well, what are y'all going to do? How is this going to be? We're going to just make it as big as we can, as big as we can for you, And every day I want to continue to do that. Yeah. She meant a lot to me and helped teach me to do a lot of things I wouldn't have ever known how to do.
Yeah.
What would you say, Miranda?
Yeah, definitely. Like what Tasha's saying, her legacy definitely started with family. The core of her legacy was family, is where it all started.
And you believe it was important to her to leave a strong legacy?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like she would, she was, when I say leave a strong legacy, she wanted to make a strong impact.
Yeah.
Yes.
If when you would listen to her preach and stuff, she would say, "I want my crown to be so heavy,
Yes.
because of all the people that received the Lord, and that you get a jewel in your crown for everyone who got to know the Lord." And so she wanted to make a kingdom impact,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
she knew to make a kingdom impact that she saw herself.
Yes.
Wanting to that desire that she had in her, and it motivated her.
Yes.
Motivated her. When you think about the legacy that she left behind, what part of that legacy speaks the most to you? Like her values, her faith, her impact. When you think of what did Mom want to leave in your mind? What was important to her that people knew her as? I'm going to start with you, Miranda.
Okay. And just to add, like what you just said about the crown, it was her and River, my youngest, they were extremely close. And I would hear them talking like at nighttime about her crown and what it was going to be like. And River, that was one of the first things that River asked when Mom passed away is how I thought her crown was fitting her little small head.
That's what she did.
And what kind of bobby pins was in heaven to hold her crown up. And I thought that was really cute and kind of unique for a 10-year-old to kind of think of.
Absolutely.
But I think that's talking about conversations with Mom.
Yeah.
I could see it leading into when you're talking about heaven receiving your crown, and it would include bobby pins.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I can. I know. I like that, and I know actually when we were with Mom when she was when we knew that she was transitioning to be with Jesus. I was like, Mom, it's time to get your crown.
Yeah.
It's time to get your crown, because she did speak of that crown frequently.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But back to what you were saying, I think that the biggest thing for me is like her vulnerability with people. That was such an impact for me to watch spiritually, is how she was. She was able to put herself with anybody. She was able to. Whether she had been where that person was or not, she was able to relate to them in every situation, and was able to relate to them and help them in any situation.
She was real.
Yeah, she was very real.
She could empathize.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that was that made a huge difference to me to watch.
And I think to be an effective leader, to be an effective kingdom impactor, I think you have to be able to empathize. And I do agree with you.
Yeah.
That's you're the first that's mentioned that was something that she was. She didn't judge.
Yeah.
And that she did. She was like, so in order to help you overcome, to help you get to where you're going to, where we need to get, let me hear your brokenness. Let me connect with you, relate, and then this is how we move forward.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Good point. I like
Yeah.
it. I like it. Tasha, what would you say?
For me, her perseverance, hearing all the trials and tribulations she had to go through in order to create something for it to, and I look at it this personal for me. And each one of these women, but for me, watching that perseverance, hearing about all it took, but her, and I don't mean to be cliche at all, but her crazy faith to keep going and make it bigger, make it better. Like, that's so remarkable to me. There was no stopping.
Right.
And
we speak of that frequently. And when you're talking about crazy faith, there's no way you can describe Mom.
No.
So it's not cliche at all, because Mom, her crazy faith.
Yes.
Which, when we say crazy faith, we refer to 2 Corinthians 5:13, where it was where if you ever thought that I was crazy, or if you ever thought I was out of my mind, it was to bring Him glory. And that was and there's throughout Scripture there was a lot of people who spoke, who had that crazy faith, and Mom wanted to be known to have that crazy faith. So no cliche here.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree, because it wouldn't matter what the situation. Somebody could call, because there's times where I was in the midst of somebody would call, we're not able to make payroll, and she's got to find the money. I've never seen anything like it. She made sure that her staff was going to be paid.
Yeah.
Always. And I saw her struggle. I saw not just health-wise, but in the sense of for the ministry. She would stop at nothing, and her faith was always there for the ministry. And I find it remarkable.
Yeah.
Remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So when
It's hard not to sit here and want to cry when you talk about her. I know.
Because I'm very proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am too.
Very proud.
Yeah.
when I think of and Miranda reflected a little bit on when the extreme, because I know for me, and something that I haven't talked yet about, we went to the extreme of what it took to, we've talked about to build this place or to
Right.
and how, but the extreme, she would go for the one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Would you have, when we talk about the legacy what would you say about the extreme? Because I know you're a graduate of the program, right? When did you
Yes.
graduate?
2017.
Okay. And living at the house with her, Miranda, you too, you would see the extreme that she would go for the one.
Yes.
And not to share too much in anyone's story. What would you have anything to add to that? We're knocking drinks over.
Right.
Excuse us. I'm putting you on the spot.
I know.
don't
I'm
mean to
like,
interrupt, but sometimes it's not just the extremes. It's not. That's just part of it. It's when she put herself in those situations. It's all extreme. She would sit there, and her spiritual vulnerability, if that's the way that you want to put it. She would put herself in those situations
and take the entire cross.
and take the entire thing and just it would seem harsh at first, but it was kind of like somebody at one time referred to her as like the Build-A-Bear factory.
Explain that one.
Yeah,
explain that one.
it, please.
She would take and just completely build you, stuff you full of all this goodness, and just take nothing and stuff you full of all this goodness and prepare you.
That
And
agreed.
do you understand what I'm saying? She was just so vulnerable, and she would just take you and just stuff you full of all this goodness and prepare you. You get what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this question. So because when we think about her boldness, and we think about the conversations. I know there was some times where conversations I'd want to get out of the room, even if if she was talking to me, but sometimes she's talking to other people. I'm like, I don't want to be in that. This could she would be such boldness, and then sometimes or she would be fussing at you about something that she wanted you to do different or something that wasn't okay. Like, this is not what God's called you to do. We've got to turn on the direction.
Right.
So knowing Mom's boldness, is there something now that we're right at 3 months that she's gone that you still hear her saying to you? And that's still motivating you, feeding your spirit and move and helping you carry on.
Yes, because she never failed to tell me that she was proud of me and all that I had achieved.
Yeah.
And she made sure that I knew that I was worthy. Yes, there was all those rough times getting hollered out, whatever. I would live to have one more holler of my name. You know what I mean?
When you didn't make my shirt.
Yeah.
The night before, yeah. By God, I made sure I made that shirt. I could live for one more day of that, but there's a lot of things that people didn't see. Like those sweet last messages, that you had gotten in the middle of the night or a text, but just to let you know she was proud because she had her ways of letting you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't always just like vocally.
I want to tell you, so you're talking about sweet last messages after Mom passed. I went and it was about 4 or 5 days after she passed. I had this panic, what about her voice? I want to hear her voice to me.
Right.
So I went and looked at all my deleted messages on my iPhone and I moved them over. And the first message I listened to, it was my greeting on my voicemail is very long. Very long. I think you're in the background on one of them. I think so. So I know you are because the first time she left me this message, she's listening to my message and she says, "Melinda, that is so professional. Your voicemail is just, I don't know how you did something. That is just so professional. I love your voicemail." And then the very next message that I got, "We're going to have to do something about that voicemail. Like, I'm going to have to be able to hit 0 or something to get to the end. That voicemail is way too long." Yeah. And I was just like, okay, Mom. It was, no, you could.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it goes back and forth at times, like 1 minute it's great. And you're like, woo. And then, what did you get? But without having... Well, and I was speaking to somebody yesterday about this. That season of my life, yes, is over. But how many people can say they loved a said season of their life?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I loved that season of my life. No matter how tough it was at times, no matter how exhausting or emotional or whatever, I loved that season of my life with your mother.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, emotional.
No, I get emotional every time I talk about her.
Yeah. But I'm happy and I'm thankful, know?
What do you miss the most?
The companionship.
Yeah.
Companionship.
Mm-hmm.
Miranda, what about you, baby?
Yeah. Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's definitely my best friend. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard several.
Yeah.
I've heard several say that.
Yeah.
She had a lot of
And
best
how many
friends.
people
Okay.
like you, I pray constantly to see people the way that Jesus sees them. And I really feel like, she did. And she really, really did,
It was so her sense of humor.
Yeah.
Her sense of humor. I've shared this a couple of times here recently. So Chosen season 5 comes out. It's coming out this week, and I took her to the movies.
Yeah.
To see it last year, so it's a little bittersweet. Because we went and took her to every, I took her, it was 3 different trips to the theater. Should have been 3 different trips to the theater. But one of them, Mom always, she wanted to go full, she never wanted to feel like she, she had she couldn't keep up because you know
Right.
she felt like her whole life she was running ahead of everybody, and
Yes.
and in this season as she was getting older, she needed to slow down a little bit. Well, I wanted to help her this one
Yes.
particular day and I'm like, or I did every time, but this time some reason we had more than we could handle, and so I'm trying to hurry up, and you know I got the popcorn, and I think she was carrying two things that I know the drink and something else that I'm like she doesn't need to be carrying that, you know I don't want her to fall, you know, so I'm running, you know, so I'm running ahead of her, going into the theater, and as soon as I go to put my hand on the door to walk in, my plan was to run, drop this stuff off, then come
Run
back
back
to
and
her, run back and help her, and I heard a fall and a little bit of a cry as there was a fall, and then I turn around and she's on the ground, and there's a mess all over the place, and then she looks up and there's blood
Oh, yeah,
pouring
'cause
down
her
her
face.
face,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my God, you know, and I freak, you know, I'm freaking out, and I'm running over to her, and I'm like, help, you know, because it's just me and her in this hallway, and
Right.
I'm scared to death. I mean, I'm scared, and I'm not okay, and I see that there's blood on her arms, there's blood on her shoulder, there is just blood on her face, and I'm like, this is help, you know, and I don't want to leave her, but I feel like I gotta leave. I'm trying to, you know, what did she break? Because it was clearly a bad
Yeah.
fall because there was so
Yeah.
much blood, and this man comes down the hallway, and God love her. And he said, what happened? And she looks up and she says, she pushed me. And I'm like, Mom. I mean, like, I'm not even sure at this point, up until that moment, like, I'm not even sure she gonna make it. And that's what she comes on. She pushed me. How much do y'all want to bet that those people, when we left that theater, went and watched that camera?
I bet they did.
To make sure I didn't push her. I know. I'm like, Mom, that is not funny. I said, that is not funny. Anyway, she refused to let me call the
so
ambulance. We ended up going to the hospital, and I took her, and she was okay.
Yes.
She was okay. They, you know, just had to do some cleanup, and she was fine. But just to see that her sense of humor and how she came off with that
Yes.
at that moment,
Yeah.
Yes.
and y'all all know how she loved it to just like do that to me.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I was her favorite to pick on.
Yes.
But anyway, it was
Yeah.
fun.
We were laying in bed watching Chosen, and she was giggling, and I was like, what about this is funny? And she was like, just watch them. And she was like, Jesus had a sense of humor. And so I think that's something fun to walk away with, is
Yes.
that he did have a sense of humor. And so if we want to be like Jesus, we can be bold, we can have a sense of humor, we can
That's right.
love, we can
That's
do
right.
all those things. You know?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and Mom did. Mom
Yeah,
did well.
she did.
Yes.
Well, so here's what we do as we wrap up. I have 2 torches because I do believe that as the legacy continues, that's important that we do our part.
Yeah.
And so is that your second one?
No, I didn't get one
You didn't get one.
because there wasn't enough, and there was
Okay.
a new staff member who I wanted her to have one.
Okay. So I did make sure that so I've handed these to our staff because no one can do to do this alone. It takes us all to do it. So it's important to me that everyone gets their torch, that they know that that the legacy continues, that we live every day running the race, that we run it well,
Yeah.
that we don't give up, we persevere, and that we continue running it to glorify God first and foremost, and knowing that what Mama started is going to continue.
Yeah.
In Jesus'
Yeah.
name.
Always.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
We good?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for
Thank
joining us
you.
today.
Thank you.